Greetings, and welcome to Chapter 5 of Everything. I have titled this chapter, The Screw. Let me explain. The only thing of value in me is me. What I do doesn't define who I am. It only defines what I do. Imagine that you are a screw. Maybe not even a screw, but just a nut or a bolt. But since a nut and a bolt have threads on the inside, for the purpose of my analogy, let's call them both screws. If I may suggest, they are both screwable. My purpose, however, is not to be just a screw, but a screw that holds something together or to keep it in place. I am nothing until I am used. Once used, I am no longer a screw, but a part of the whole. When I am a screw in a box, even if I am a screw in a box of screws, I am nothing. But when I am being screwed, I am becoming something else. Once I am screwed tight, the screw is no longer important. Its individuality disappears because now it is connected and therefore part of the whole. The screw and the other parts become one whole thing, like an engine, for instance. And just like an engine that has a screw loose, it is not fully an engine, or at least not the engine it was designed to be if all the screws were tightened. When an engine screw is part of the engine, the screw has become the engine as much as all the other parts. So contrary to popular opinion, it is a good thing to be screwed. The nut and bolt are perfect expressions of how two people are screwed together to help finish the work they were designed for. The process of being screwed together isn't just so that a bolt and a nut can become one. A bolt and a nut screwed together has no more value than that screw in the toolbox. But when the screw is put to use to complete the building of something bigger, then it is a part of the bigger picture. Most people don't feel connected or valuable because they don't understand that they were designed for something bigger than themselves. That is why so many marriages fail. They think it is all about what they can give or take from each other. If a union between two people isn't built on helping each other become something beyond themselves, they will just sit in the box, the nut screwing on and off, the screw just twisting and turning around nothingness. Once the nut and bolt are screwed together to tighten two other objects together, they become one, not just with themselves, but with the whole thing, whatever that is called, whatever they are called to become. What are they called to become? Well, I think one of my listeners has remarked that this teaching on everything might be suggesting the worship of everything. That is so far from my belief that I dare not give it much credence, except to say that when we recognize ourselves as part of everything, that is what God intended for our lives, to be connected to others and to connect others to ourselves. It's called unity, not worship. Here's a hint, however. I will deal with worship in another chapter. And by the way, once a nut and bolt are screwed together, they have no choice and no greater joy than to become a part of something much bigger than themselves. They can now share everything with freedom, respect, admiration, with love, even the rough times when the big engine of life runs a little rough because the screw starts coming loose. I guess that's what this lesson is all about. Is it time for a tune-up? To tune up and get back to being what you were designed to be? Oh, if we could all just understand that everything that I have is yours and everything you have is mine, we wouldn't have to screw one another to get what we want. In other words, you don't have to screw someone to be happy. When you find someone who wants to be joined with you and you want to be joined with them, what do? You give it all you've got, right? But be gentle, because it's like my dad used to tell me about the proper way to tighten a nut on a bolt. Turn it until it snaps, then back it off a little. That's what happens in some relationships. We crank so hard, we are so hard on people that we hurt them, and they can no longer function because they are broken. That is why so many people think that they are nothing. They are no longer connected to their purpose and can no longer see their value. They got screwed in a whole different way. And that is when they feel broken, feeling like their threads are stripped and they no longer fit in. The good news? A busted nut can always be melted down and refitted with new threads. The common denominator between one person and the other is the threads. That is the emptying that Jesus talked about when he said he had to die to be exalted. As a man, the outer garment of humanity had to be connected to the divine nature in order to be complete. His flesh was nothing, just like the screw sitting on the workbench. But once he went through the inner turmoil that accompanies any perfect work, he became one with the Father, the Creator. And that's what he meant when he said that we can be like him and like the Father. It's not through anything of the outer makeup of the bolt or the nut or the screw, whichever one you want to see yourself as. It is about the lining up of the inner self, the threads that connects you with your God. By the way, the outward appearance of nuts and bolts may look different, red and yellow, black and white, but the insides have matching threads that makes all of mankind function properly. Yeah, I know that sometimes the threads don't match, but it doesn't have anything to do with you having bad threads. It just means that there is someone with matching threads out there somewhere. You just might not have met them yet. I probably wouldn't be willing to be melted down and refitted if I didn't believe there was hope. If I am nothing, I won't see the need to become a new part. We need to teach even the brokenhearted, the lonely, the depressed, and all of mankind that their connection with others, with us, is who they really are. Like I said, the universe isn't made up of nuts and bolts looking for a hole to fit into. Sometimes a screw is all that's needed. Like screws that hold two pieces of wood together. Multiple pieces of wood screwed together can build a house. Would that house stand if the screws weren't holding the wood together? Wouldn't it just be a house with a bunch of screws hanging around a pile of lumber in an empty lot? Here's a final thought, and I hope you have appreciated and not been offended with the levity of this conversation. But I want you to know that it is easy for us to screw one another for what we want from them rather than for what we want to give to them. That reminds me of the way I learned to define the difference between love and lust. Lust takes, love gives. If you want to feel that you have value, stop looking to take from the world what you think will complete you and start giving yourself away. Until next time, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time on Everything.